A blessed day to everyone listening. This is the Friendship News Hour presented to you by Bummer Dude Media. Today is August the 23rd. My name is Frank. His name is Alex. A good day.
Good day,
Mi
sir.
amigo, what's
What's happening?
happening?
Nothing too crazy, man. Hot as balls here
Is
in
it?
Chicago, and I think most of the Midwest right now. Yeah,
Mm.
our
Tis
normal.
summer.
It is summer, but our normally get up to 100 during the day, with like a feels like temperature of 105 to 110. It's very strange for this area, Frank.
Is it?
Many are calling on global warming.
I'd
I don't know.
call pishy cocky.
I don't know what to believe.
Well, I'm in Southern California and we just had a hurricane,
Yeah,
but
tell
we
me
didn't.
about that. Yeah, I was gonna say, tell me. I've heard it could have been the worst storm to ever hit San Diego, and that's the last I heard of it.
It could have also been the least worst storm to hit San Diego. I don't know. I guess there was a hurricane developing off the western coast of Mexico and it was making its way up to Southern California. I don't even know if it reached hurricane status. I think the largest it got was tropical storm.
Okay, gotcha.
So like the Chicago equivalent of a dusting. Nothing. Yeah. It was supposed to come and hit really hard on Sunday and it rained. It was wet, but it was just a rainy day. That's all it
Isn't it
was.
isn't it funny how almost always the first thing that people go to in like perhaps an awkward conversation or you don't know what to talk about is all based off of just guesses. The weather.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Hey, what do
it's
you think of that estimation of what might happen? And what's
like,
crazier is that people out here were cleaning out store shelves.
really?
Yeah, they went wild. My mom was showing me this video of her Costco, and the
Mhm.
line went from the front of the store to the all the way to the back of the store. Literally, the entire length of the store was the line to check out.
That's crazy.
And it's just amazing that like it boils down to fear porn, right? Like
Mhm.
they want to consume the of destruction because we have nothing else to amuse ourselves with in our miserable daily lives. And so we pray that something bad happens from the gods, something that we can't control, just that we feel alive.
It's true. If you're into that kind of porn, you're probably loving what happened in Hawaii this past week.
I guess. I don't know. There's not much to love about what happened in
No,
Hawaii.
I say that sarcastically, Frank.
I'm
But
sure you do. Um, yeah, it's rough. Uh, I wasn't going to get into it this quickly, but now that you brought it up, um, I mean, everything about it, dude. Like everything about it is so fucked. Um, from the local response to the federal response to the non-accounting for who's missing.
hmm
We're getting no numbers. We're getting no updates on who's missing, and it looks like a lot of it could have been the worst of it. So we talked not too long ago. I think it was when your pops was on the show about wildfires in California and how a rainy season makes for a more treacherous fire season because you get a lot of growth and then the growth dries, but it doesn't get cleared out because we don't log anymore. So there's nobody going into the forests, into the brush area, clearing out the debris so that they can work. It just
Right.
stays there and becomes tinder and fodder. Um, Coincidentally enough, I'm not trying to put the tinfoil hat on this early on a Wednesday. BlackRock owns the electric company in Maui,
Mm.
and they were told the year to clean this stuff up that there was a day for fire, particularly in this town that got destroyed because the town that got destroyed is very dry. I didn't know this, but apparently there's like desert arid areas in Hawaii, and this town happens to be one of them. It's dry where it's at. There's a wind tunnel that comes from down of the mountain. So if it's hot and dry and flowing, it creates like a big, giant, almost like downward fan into that area. A faulty a power line is a downed power line is most likely the cause of this fire. It went down. There was high winds. The utility company refused to power, so it made the electrical line hot. When the power line fell, created a spark, which created a. They didn't use their emergency system. They didn't provide water for hours. They had to look at it through some sort of equity lens before they could release water. And even now, it's like a big quarantine area. So there's estimations, and again, I don't know how much. The fact that nobody's willing to give any story to the contrary makes me believe that there's upwards of 1,000 people, mostly children, perished in this fire.
Bring up. Yeah, I think that's why they're keeping it so tongue in cheek, because they think a lot of them were kids that were home from school and they didn't set off any kind of alarm or warning for the people on the island. And yeah, like they're saying that the numbers they believe are going to fall somewhere between 1,000 to 1,100, but right now they've only actually identified confirmed victims 27 out of the 114 bodies that they have, which is wild. With today's technology, or like these people must be so severely burned. But like I would still think dental records would give you enough of what you need, even with that. So I'm wondering if they're just really being cautious with what they release here because of the number of children that have passed.
So Reuters has an article out and reporting that 400 students from the burn area have enrolled in other public schools, while 200 signed up for distance learning. So that's 600 students. That means that there are 1,600 unaccounted for students.
Holy shit.
Because there's more than 3,000 students that serve the 4 schools that were in Lahaina, and only 600 have done something right. So I'm not saying that they're dead or missing, right?
Right.
Parents had died, or maybe they don't have a home, so like school is the last thing on their mind. But that still means that there's 1,600 students that have yet to enroll anywhere in any school or make themselves known to any administration.
Dude, I saw the press. They were like berating the mayor of this town about like just his response and why they're not giving more information because of children. And he had nothing to say, bro. He was just eating shit because I mean, like,
yeah. Let's take a listen. I have that.
Oh, nice.
I don't know.
Yes, you do. How many children are missing?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I would be happy to answer that.
You have no estimate as to how many children are missing?
I guess
Nothing?
we can end this right now if you guys want.
Sorry, this is one of the biggest questions that the people of Lahaina have, but you don't want to answer.
It always takes one or two to ruin it for everybody.
Please, this
That's
is
what
our
happens.
first. It's our only
Well, we could say that about you. You ruined it for
And
everyone.
this shortly-
You're welcome to say it. You're the media. You can say whatever you want.
You're a disaster.
All right. Okay.
You've been the worst mayor we could possibly imagine.
You won't even wait.
Respect what? This is the most dismal response we've ever had.
You won't wait for your turn. You want to shout over these guys that are legitimate.
Why don't you give them the real answers then? Give them the real answers.
That's not his question.
Let him.
Yeah. You can go. You can go. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm not envious of this guy.
No.
I mean, like, that's a terrible position to be in, even if you're respected. But they said it in the beginning of that press conference that he knows They know the numbers.
Oh,
They
yeah.
know who's missing. They're not saying. They're not saying out of respect for families, or they're not saying out of respect for who the missing are. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a non-nefarious reason for it. But dude, they know the numbers. They're not giving them. Why? Um, I'm not the kind of person that thinks that the president should be at a disaster zone immediately following a disaster and touring it. That to me, I think it's all show, right? What are you going to do? But Biden did end up showing up. I don't know how many days late, 10 days, 14 days.
Please tell me you heard
After,
what he did.
well, I mean, he did a number of things. Like it's almost hard to choose. The most egregious thing I saw him do was he was talking to some of the first responders and the firemen, and he was looking at one of the German shepherds, which happens to be a cadaver dog, and the cadaver dogs wear these like rubber booties because there's glass and debris and things all on the ground. And he looks at the dog and he sees he's wearing the booties, and he looks at the handler of the dog, and he goes, and he points to the shoes. He goes, "That's a hot ground." And I'm just thinking, like, how tone deaf can you be?
For real.
Oh
man. I
my
saw that video.
God.
Oh,
I could not believe what I saw. I was just like, dude, that is incredible. I mean, like, I don't know if you remember how much shit Trump got for throwing paper towel rolls to the people of Puerto Rico. He was baskets, and that's like super offensive and tone deaf. But like to say that's a hot ground, I mean, like, oof.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the ground that just got scorched by wildfires and killed a bunch of kids, Joe? Yeah, that fire?
Yeah, maybe leave that alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
sure he got ice cream while he was there, though.
Yeah, it was a hot day. He attended a ceremony and fell asleep.
What? I didn't hear that.
Dude. He was off like after the ceremony. It's like,
oh my God.
And CNN tried to run cover saying that like he just like deep breath and like a moment of reflection, but it's like very clearly dozing off, like if you do an all-day meeting and you just had lunch, and then you go back and you sit down and you're supposed to watch the presentation, and you're fighting like hell to not fall asleep. That's exactly what's going on.
I know the feel. It's when you're sitting there and you're just gonna get the bobs.
Yeah, not a good look for El Presidente. They called him I think this was CNN. They called him the empathizer in chief.
He had quite the lay on, though. It was very.
Oh, did he?
Oh yeah, it was very robust.
Did you see the reception that he got from Hawaiians?
I did not.
It wasn't great. It was pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah, there was like it was just one video, but it was a convoy of the presidential convoy with all the SUVs, and just people, fuck you.
Mm.
It was pretty bad.
I did see that.
Well, go ahead.
I did see that they're issuing relief, but the relief is $700 per family, and that like makes no sense to me. I mean, hopefully most of these people have insurance and stuff, and it's covered that way. But like, what the fuck does $700 do for your entire family when something like this happens? That's a joke.
I mean, it's a joke for sure. Even if you're looking at it in the lens of like initial aid, the first thing that you provide, just to without knowing anything else, like, here's $700. Hopefully this helps.
Right.
It's nothing. And then I think what comes to a lot of people's minds, just because it's front and center and things that we've been hearing about all the time, is the amount of money that we've given to Ukraine to fight a proxy war. And that's not how money's accounted in the United States government. But very people know how money is accounted for in the United States government. And so the number one thought is that there's not enough money for Hawaii because we're spending it all on Ukraine, which is not true. There's plenty of money for Hawaii. It's just it's just the response to it, and that to me is the most interesting part of all of this. Is why is the response so muted? Why are we not waving Hawaiian flags? How come we're not saying Maui strong? Like how come there's not that push? It's not
true.
it's not for nothing, right? It's not because they've been forgotten. I don't know, man. It's tragic, and I hope that for sure, this is one that I want to keep tabs on and update people with, because I think we need to really learn what happened here, and just how bad it was. And there, people need to start coming to prison, man. If you made the decision to withhold water when you knew that there was a potential tragedy, you should go to prison.
Yeah.
If you knew that there was a danger for a fire and you operated a utility company, somebody needs to go to prison. Just too much death, too much destruction, too much tragedy for there not to be account.
Flipping the conspiracy switch on, I've been seeing some reports that there were it appears that maybe there were like trucks that were picking up kids, like as in rescuing them during all of this. Yet, and like those are some of the ones that have gone disappeared. So there's a belief on the internet, at least. I don't know if it's verified with any facts, but that child sex traffickers, they use this as an opportunity to do this. Maybe even orchestrated it, which is like disgusting to think about if that's remotely true. I really don't think it is, but man, with like all the shit we're learning more and more about how big child sex trafficking is, and like probably getting increasingly harder to do, something like this would kind of make sense as a way to do that and go under the radar. And then like you see how sketchy they've been with like releasing information about it. Kind of feels like they're hiding something, you know what I mean? But just strange, just something I heard, so I thought I'd bring up for the listeners.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, the response to the fire is obviously going to generate some suspicion, and it should. Yeah. I mean, it absolutely should. There's another one. I don't know if I should bring this up, but apparently there's some homes in Hawaii that have blue rooftops.
I heard about this. Yeah.
You heard about this one? And because they have blue rooftops, and the point of the blue rooftop is to, I think, and this is, I don't know this for a fact, I think it's because of like water helps you like retain rainwater.
Weird.
Like there's a membrane there that helps you retain rainwater instead of just running off your house, I think. Anyways, the idea is that there might be a energy weapon or a laser that targeted these homes, and then the homes that didn't have blue roofs, or that did have blue roofs, were saved, like putting lamb's blood on your doorstep to escape the angel of death.
The list of people I saw that had blue roof homes was like Oprah, Jeff Bezos, like a bunch of Jim Carrey, like a bunch of famous motherfuckers, dude. Like I'm sure there were people that weren't famous that had blue roofs, I guess, if this is like a practical thing that people do. But it is weird that like this entire island got destroyed, yet these houses that were very close to the fires weren't even touched. It's a little strange. And I did see that laser video. It's weird. It could be doctored. Who knows? But
yeah. Anyway,
I don't know, dude. It just seems there's too many like things. Like, why wouldn't they sound the alarm? Why, like just too many things that led to so many deaths. It's like, are we really just that dumb? Like we are humans. We make mistakes. We're stupid. But like, there's so many processes in place to like.
Well, you have to
like this.
I think you have to juxtapose those theories with other stories that we have highlighted that prove without a shadow of a doubt the ineptness and the incompetence of our leaders. And so I think in order to believe a lot of these theories, you have to give a lot of credit to these human beings that have proven themselves to be stupid motherfuckers, like really dumb people. Right. And so I'd like to, Occam's razor, whatever. These are fun to talk about. but I do think, unfortunately, incompetentness, laziness, and stupidity, and just overall like not being a sharp person leads to disasters like this. And again, people need to go to prison for it. Okay, switching topics entirely. I, like others who reach a certain age, I'm like super into World War II.
Nice.
For a long time. My freshman year of college, I took an upper level history class on World War II, just because I was fascinated by it. I wanted to learn about it. It was a source of, I think, pride and honor and patriotism, and we feel this like it was a good war, and we were the good guys, we defeated the bad guys, and I feel it was like the last time that in any conflict we felt that way. But Michael Tracy on Twitter, and it like kind of rocked me. So he starts off this thread saying that it's only recently that I've come to fully appreciate how shockingly impoverished the popular understanding is of World War II, and how centrally this factors into present day propaganda. Let's be honest, what percentage of the population do you think knows the first thing about any of this? I know a lot about World War II, a lot. I didn't know any of this. So apparently, immediately after the Second World War, the victorious Allies carried out the population transfer and perhaps the single greatest movement in human history. With the assistance of the British government, millions of German-speaking civilians living in Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and parts of Eastern Germany assigned to Poland were out of their homes, deposited amid the ruins of the former Reich to fend for themselves as best they could. So basically, all the Allies went to Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Eastern Germany. That was part of Poland at the time. They took German-speaking peoples, could have been Polish nationals, could have been whoever, German-speaking peoples, rounded them up and threw them into the destruction that was Germany and said, good luck. Tens of and possibly hundreds of thousands lost their lives through ill treatment, starvation, and disease while detained in camps before their departure, often like Auschwitz I, the same concentration camps used by the Germans during the Second World War. Many perished on expulsion trains, locked in freight wagons, without food, water, or heating during journeys to Germany, and sometimes took or they died on the roadside while being driven on foot to the borders. Estimates of 500,000 deaths at the lower end of the spectrum and as many as 1.5 million at the higher are consistent with the evidence as it exists at present. On the most optimistic interpretation, the explosions were an immense on a scale to put the suffering that occurred as a result of the ethnic cleansing in the former Yugoslavia in the 1990s in the shade. Today, outside of Germany, these events are almost completely unknown. And I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Never knew that. I don't feel as bad for them as what they were doing, even if it was just the people in control. You can't tell me that between 2 to 6 million Jews were killed without anyone knowing in 30 plus concentration camps across their countries. Like, there's no way those people knew, and still defended their country. And it's harder for me to feel sympathy for them, having to go through even something close to similar of a condition as concentration camps, after what they were fighting for. But I mean, that's sucks to hear if the dude in Poland who wasn't even affiliated that just spoke German got thrown into that. That is not good. But
the answer to a travesty isn't like 1.5 million more lives being thrown into the meat grinder. Again, I don't feel bad, but
look what we just had done, man. We just dropped a bomb and killed over 300,000 people. We dropped 2 bombs and I don't know. We write the history, so we're always going to look good, but
that's the point.
The war ended was already a terrible look for America or the Allies.
That's the point here, is that we're the victors. So it's bad. It was a bad look. Survivors of these German concentration camps have recalled that, notwithstanding the unrestrained brutality that pervaded most other aspects of daily life, rape, sexual maltreatment at the hands of their guards was an extremely rare occurrence and severely punished by the authorities if detected. So we're talking about the concentration camps of the Holocaust within Germany and areas. Excuse me. After the war, Cross recorded that sexual abuse of female detainees by their captors was pervasive and systematic. Conditions there for women are definitely more unfavorable than in the camps for cases of rape or where. Now, we're zooming in here. Like, yeah, maybe you didn't get raped, but you kind of like the systematic murder of everyone that you know and love, and anybody who's like related to you by race or religion. So like the alternative was better, but I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that although they were killing people and they were doing so in the open, and that was the point of why they were there, even though they dehumanized them in that aspect, they didn't allow for sexual maltreatment. I thought that was interesting. You would think that, there'd be, no holds barred, do whatever you want. They're already dead people anyways. Why would you stop at rape? But apparently, I don't know, this is just according to this one book written about this subject. That didn't happen. I thought that was kind of bizarre.
That is bizarre, especially for the stories you hear like out of Vietnam and even like Iraq. Like, haven't U.S. soldiers been like accused of this many times? Like taking a control. I've heard it a lot in Vietnam, but like a lot of women were like raped or like drugged with heroin and then raped. Like all kinds of crazy shit. I know Nam was insane. Like I can't imagine the shit they saw, but
it was a big recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Japanese were like threatening to kick the United States military of Japan because there were reports of rape outside the bases from American soldiers, or sexual harassment, and dude, it was bad. But I mean, like I don't know. I think it's interesting that this kind of story, all those years ago, it's still fly under the radar. And the point this guy's making is that, think about how that contributes to today, right? Like how ever since that point, it seems like the American propaganda machine has just been running at full bore the entire time.
Right.
And there hasn't been like really any truthful aspect to what we've been doing. And when we get somebody who speaks truth to power, or at least, at least back then, they all became martyrs. But I don't know. It just, I wonder how far back this goes. It doesn't, I don't know that it makes me any, like proud of what we did in World War II. The ability to stop the advancement of, but I don't know. This is
what's your
pretty crazy
favorite battle of World War II, and why?
That's a tough one, because like I think history put it all in one group as World War II, but there was really two wars going on in the Pacific and then in Europe, and I think Europe was a little bit more of a glory. Or the Pacific, and Dan Carlin does a series on the Pacific and hardcore history, and so bad. It's so bad, and I can't really pick one. Peleliu, it comes to mind, but just the savagery and the barbarism that on both sides, what that war did to those, it's nuts.
And
So
Pacific,
I
does
would,
that just refer to everything that was like in Asia, basically, like any and then like in the water? But like when people say the Pacific, what are they referring to?
yeah, well, you know, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. It decimated the United States Navy. We had to rebuild quickly. The day after the bomb declared war on the United States, um, we were already sort of helping the Brits. Germany had sank a couple of like merchant ships in international waters or close to U.S. waters. So we were already kind of gearing up for war. And then once Germany declared war, we began to mobilize for Europe. But it took a little while longer to mobilize for the Pacific. And so once we began to bolster up our Navy, we began to get the Japanese where they were. And the Japanese had strongholds in little islands all throughout the Pacific leading up to Japan. So we had to infiltrate these islands, go in there and snuff out the Japanese to the last man. And that's why the Pacific was so bad, because the Japanese did not surrender or they fought to the death. And it wasn't until every Japanese soldier was exterminated on to the next island. So these battles took months, and and there was hundreds of thousands of casualties, and it was brutal, and the weather was terrible, and there was disease and malaria, all the worst things that you can imagine.
Interesting. That's funny because like I'm a war guy, like I'm more of a Civil War guy, but I like into wars, and I always kind of thought that like the whole front on the Pacific kind of started as Germany was like falling, as we were like closing in on Hitler. Then we shifted our gaze, but it sounds like they were kind of going on at the same time, maybe a little bit delayed.
Oh yeah, at the same time, for sure.
Yeah, I never knew that. Interesting.
Yeah.
I just thought we were like focused on let's fuck Germany. They're the superpower here, and then we'll deal with Japan later. But
no, it was pretty much a two-front war. But if anybody listening who's interested gets the chance, the Pacific, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, his series on the Pacific, is unbeatable. It's amazing. Really, really good. Let's switch gears here. If you had to guess, what number would you put to the video game industry revenue? If you had to just take a wild guess per year, and this is worldwide.
Shit. 1.5 bill.
So I'll give you the music industry and the movie industry. Music industry, about 26.2 billion. Movie industry, about 70.
Jesus.
If you combined those numbers and then you doubled them, you'd still be shy of what video games bring in.
Wow. Holy
$221 billion. And the list is interesting. A lot of it comes from Asia. The number one video game in the world is Dungeon Fighter Online. It's a PC and mobile game. Started in 2005, and in 2023, it brought in $22 billion of revenue.
Wow. Never heard of
it. Pac-Man, number two. Pac-Man brought in $20 billion.
This is just last year.
It says 2016. So this might be from like a range of years. Space Invaders, Street Fighter, Honor of Kings, and Lineage round out the top 6. And then it's not until number 7 do we get an American-made video game. In 2022, League of Legends brought in $15 billion, and then World of Warcraft rounds out the top 10, and World of Warcraft brought in $11 billion in 2018. So big for video games. And we play video games here and there, and I play mobile games here and there. But I didn't know to the extent that video games are so popular and overwhelming. And this makes sense. Mobile video games make up the lion's share of revenue for video games at $85 billion in revenue. PC video games bring in $40 billion, and console video games bring in $33 billion. So yeah, man, it's
quite a lot. I just looked up a list of the top 50 grossing video game franchises. I wanted to see if you could guess the top 5 at all.
Top 50 grossing,
highest grossing video game franchises, not individual title, but like the franchise itself. Yes. I give them to you.
Super Mario number 1.
They're number 2.
Number 2. Number 1 with video game.
30,250,000,000. Yeah.
Is it obvious?
Yeah. Once you hear it, you'd be like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." Due to the longevity.
Sonic.
Sonic doesn't even crack the top 20 that I'm seeing. Oh, 21.
GTA.
GTA does not crack the top 10 either. They are at number 13.
Oh wow. Number 1 video game.
I think Game Boy Color
It's
Days.
bigger than. What's that?
Think Game Boy Color Days. Think Nintendo.
Oh, Pokemon, of course.
There you go. Yep, Pokemon's number 1 with over $90 billion in revenue.
Ooh.
Number 3. This surprised me a little bit, but a game I love dearly, Call of Duty franchise at $17 billion. 4. I don't know how they do this. I guess just it's Wii because of Wii Sports. I guess I don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. And number 5 is Pac-Man with $14 billion. They're just shy of Wii by 1 million. So,
wow,
interesting. Yeah, I would have thought GTA would have been higher on this list. I would have thought, even like a Star Wars would have been higher with the way people eat that shit up. But yeah, there you go.
Gaming is a lifestyle, man. It's not something that people do. It's something that they are.
Get with the team, Frank.
All right, I can go in all kinds of directions here. Okay. There were 2 articles that came out this week. 2 articles. Not 1, 2. One by the New York Times. I just want to be clear, man. 2 articles. Out with 1, and the Atlantic came out with 1. And the news is, and they changed the headline of this, by the way. Bitch. Sorry, you're gonna have to edit this. I'm sorry.
You lost it?
I did. Okay. The New York Times article was "Elections Bad for Democracy." The Atlantic article's title is "Americans Vote Too Much." And I'm thinking, oh, well, there must be something here, right? This is just to grab a click so you can actually read the article. Basically, exactly what you're thinking. So the New York Times article tries to push this the sortition, which is what the ancient Greek, wherein a pool of candidates were put in together, and then the leader was chosen randomly. And And they make the case that if you're chosen randomly, you're the chosen one or you're the elected one doesn't get to your head. And you're able to govern more efficiently.
Eh.
I'm sure there's a reason why it was left in ancient Greece. So it's just like, all right, whatever, New York Times. Interesting that you're writing. And then the Atlantic article is basically saying democracy is too hard for us. It makes a lot of good points. 90,000 local governing bodies in the United States. That's a lot, right?
It is a lot. Yeah.
We vote on things like, I think we vote on like the coroner, in some places. And so it's like, why, who's qualified to do that? Also, what power does the coroner have? I don't think very much, but essentially it's like, well, people have lives. People have husbands and wives and families, and how are they supposed to know what's going on, and how are they supposed to have time to discover what's happening on a local level? That's never going to change. We should have less elections, and it's just funny to me that this is the only way I can read is the groundwork, because Joe Biden isn't going anywhere unless he's absolutely forced out, and his numbers are terrible. He's not doing a great job, and so they have to start laying the groundwork now. That's like, hey, maybe it's not a good thing that we vote. Vote, right? Like we're we're just gonna put out these articles for no reason. We're just gonna say, hey, here's sortition. This is what maybe we should look at this. Sortition. Apparently in the past few years. What's that?
There's no way that could be corrupted. Using a sorting hat to fucking pick a president?
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect system. It's obviously it's not perfect. No system is. Democracy is notwithstanding. I just think that if you aren't sure about what's going on, then at the very least, you should probably not have like an emotional reaction to politics if you're unsure. And it's okay to be unsure. If you don't want to participate in the process of civics and you don't want to perform your civic duty and learn about your community and figure out who's good and who's not. And then if you don't see anybody that's good, then you maybe run because you think you can. If you don't believe in any of that, fine. That's how we're set up. Agree with the Atlantic. Don't vote. Stay home. Don't go vote if you think that you're not well informed enough to make a decision about your attorney or your district attorney. Then absolutely don't vote. Don't vote on party lines because you like the party.
Right.
You vote blue, so there's going to be more power for what you like. Maybe.
There's also a
Maybe.
lot of sites like isidewith.com and numerous other ones that you can just like, it goes through, it'll ask you 50 questions. You give your honest opinion on all of them, and it shows you like, hey, you most align with this one. Like, at least to give you a ballpark idea of where to start. Like, to just plead ignorance is ridiculous when it comes to something like this. Like, we're one of the, we're like the founding pillar of democracy for the whole world. So to have our news organization start to talk about going away from that just seems absolutely ridiculous. Now, I agree. Coroner, we could tighten up more of the public offices that we vote for. That doesn't bother me as much. Like that seems reasonable. But like to try to like start planting the seed of we shouldn't vote, the people don't really know what they want or need. That sounds fucking crazy. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. And like, not too long we were talking about how democracy was hanging thread
Yeah.
January 6th. Um,
Yeah.
like we really care about it when we're told to care about it. And you should care about who you elect, about who your leaders are, because if you just because of their their rep right next to their name, then they're going to have an inflated opinion about what you think of them. For example, in San Diego, the local leaders, the city council members, they probably think that they did a tremendous during COVID because there's so much positive affirmation for and people vote for them. Saying, "Oh wow, yeah, you did a great job. They still like me." And I bring up COVID because they're bringing restrictions back. There's I forget what's the college in Atlanta that's they're bringing back face masks
Boo.
as a requirement in this Atlanta college. Morris Brown in Atlanta are requiring students and employees to wear face masks on campus for the next 2 weeks. Why? Why?
Interesting.
Why are we doing it?
Alex Jones was talking about this, saying that there's a move to start moving more and more back towards this, and he said by October. So let's see if this is true. I guess he says a lot of shit, but by October it's going to be mandatory in all airports to wear face coverings again, and all employees are going to have to be wearing them. And they're going to roll out. They already have rolled out this new booster that they're starting to try to push to everybody. And he has his concerns about that as well. So who's to say? I will not be getting that booster shot, though. I'm done with those shots.
I'm not getting a booster. I'll respectively decline your invitation for me to wear a face mask anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen, man. Like this, if I don't know. I saw the story about Morris Brown. All I could think of was like, oh, like, hope not, because then that's going to get real uncomfortable. Because I'm not this time around. Suck my dick is what I'm going to say, respectfully.
Respectfully.
It's just like there's no room for it anymore. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody has the answers. That's been. Anyways, you rein that back in before.
What do you think about Trump
Too
not
emotional.
going to the Republican debates?
I don't think that there's any benefit for him to go and debate anybody on that stage.
It's kind of what he said, and that pissed off Ron DeSantis because I think he wanted to use it as a time to
Of course he did.
get a couple clips or something like that. But he's getting butt fucked in the polls. Like he's done. Like all those people are pretty much done that will be on that stage.
Pretty much, and
short of vying for like a vice presidency bid, if
Right,
someone performs
right.
well there, they might gain momentum to maybe take that office. That's kind of seems what it's like at this point. But the man has 4 indictments against him, and he is leading the polls at like 63%. So
he's not just leading the poll than he's ever been, ever.
Really?
Ever.
Oh wow.
Not like not being president. He's polling as well as he's ever polled in his life. So yeah, no benefit for him to get up on there. I mean, it would be basically like, this is a crude analogy, but like asking LeBron James to go play in like the D League for a day.
Yeah.
It's absolutely no interest of his to do. And it's just going to give attention to the other people. And why would you want that if you're running against them? So yeah, probably smart move on his end.
Yeah. Well, I saw something this week that maybe we should bring our buddy Dave Matranga or somebody, Brian Duncan, back on here to talk more about this because they'll know more about me. But I did see that as of yesterday, the average 30-year mortgage hit a high since November of 2000 at 7.48%. That is fucking crazy.
It's brutal, man. It's absolutely brutal.
It made me jump into it a little bit and just look into some numbers. And in 1960, the median family income was $5,600 a year, and the median home.
And what year was that?
This was in 1960.
Okay.
Median family income was $5,600, and the median home
Okay.
cost was $11,900. So, about twice what you would make in a year, over the course of 10, 20 years. That's a doable thing. You can start saving, build generational wealth, do what you need to do to live the American dream. In the year 2023, the median family income is $70,000,
Mm.
while the median home cost is $416,000, and double that, then add a 7.4% interest rate to a 30-year mortgage. You're paying probably close to $550,000 for that $416,000 house.
Yeah, man, that's so bad,
Dude.
That's so bad, and like
so
what gets lost in there, the thing that frustrates me so much, is the wages.
Yeah.
And wages have been stagnant. They went up $20,000 on average over the last 80 years. Good, man. That's not good. The interest rates are too high. Homes are too high. Yes. The rent is, yes, correct. Those things exist, but the wages are unacceptable. Unacceptable.
It's crazy to think that you have to work 7 or 8 times, like try to find a job that makes 7 or 8 times more than the median family income to hit that same number,
Yeah.
as that they were dealing with in the 60s. It's like, it almost doesn't make sense to buy a house anymore. And that will just I mean, we know what that does to our whole economy. It'll fuck it all. Nobody wants to invest, and I really want
except those who have it, that can invest. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that might be the whole point, is that you'll own nothing and like it. We've heard that one before.
Yeah. So maybe we got to bring Dave on to learn a little bit more about it or something. But I'm just like, I'm so curious how he even tries to attempt to sell to anyone that's not a multimillionaire. Like,
Right.
How do you? You could talk about refinancing, but like, it seems like this shit, just inflation keeps rising, and this rate, I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, I remember we were talking about 6%, but 7.48, like, that is bonkers, bro. I saw a thing online that said people that were paying $1,000 for their mortgage even 3 years ago are now paying over $2,300 with these, like, if they would have bought a house now. You know what I'm saying? For the same house.
Man,
It's
so
crazy.
ridiculous. That's so ridiculous.
So yeah, a little fun information there for you.
Well, I think we could end on a high. There's been a new feat of human engineering. India has successfully landed its Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft on the moon's south pole Wednesday, days after a similar Russian mission ended when its probe crashed into the lunar surface. India is the first country to reach that part of the moon's surface, an achievement expected to kick off a new era of space exploration. I think it's easy to understate, just because we're all just dumb little monkeys, really. I have almost zero knowledge of what it takes to put a probe or a spacecraft on the moon's south pole, but apparently this is an incredible achievement, like something really, really impressive, and something that we should be commending Indian scientists on. Very, very, very well done. Universal human achievement, which is good. We need more of that. That's for sure. This is India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Modi. Successful moon mission is not just India's alone. The success belongs to all of humanity, and it will help moon missions by other countries in the future. So very good. Well done, India.
Especially when Russia earlier this week, didn't they just crash a spaceship trying to do the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
Sucks to suck, Russia.
Yep. And Japan have also tried and failed at the same task.
Isn't that okay? Does that make you question at all if we went to the moon in the fucking 60s then? If we can't,
it makes me question. Oh yeah, I question it all the time. Well, this
Dude.
is the south pole of the moon. This is like the dark side of the moon. This is something different altogether.
True.
I don't know. I've always questioned that.
Yeah, man.
Like we had real time like broadcast
Yeah. Well, you know I
in the
am a
60s.
space fan, big time. But have you seen the video of this India landing, bro?
Mm-mm.
It looks fake. It looks computer generated. Like it doesn't look like I'm looking at a. In the year 2023, we should have a 4K fucking
Yeah.
camera on that space capsule that's or whatever it is that's like pointed at the motherfucker landing. And dude, look up the video. It looks so fake, man.
I'm looking at a still photo from the video, and it does look like a video game from the 80s.
Dude, yeah. And it's like everyone's cheering. I'm just like, this seems weird, and I love space. I'm all about that shit. But man, I saw it. I'm like, that is not real. There's no way. I want to see if I could pull a video up for anyone watching this thing. Here.
Well, I think what's going on is that they're getting this video probably from a satellite in Earth's orbit. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense.
I guess, but like we don't have satellites that can capture the dark side of the moon, really. I mean, I know it's South Pole, not technically dark side, but I don't know, man. It just looks a little fishy to me. I'll just share it with you quick because it's the audio's in Indian, so I'll just share the video here.
I'd like to hear that audio.
Here on the left here. Dude, come on. Those colors don't even look right.
So what I'm thinking is that they have. I'm thinking this is either like a simulation showing, or it's like a filter. Get the outline of the spacecraft
Oh,
so that you can see it.
That
That's
makes
something.
more
I don't know.
Yeah, because this does not look real. Like that looks like some shit from PowerPoint, man. Where's the paperclip at?
Hmm.
I don't know.
The paperclip. I'm weak.
Oh,
I'm looking at there's a video on Al Jazeera that's actually a little bit.
Is there? I'd love to see it. I would love
yeah.
because my conspiratorial brain's just like, this seems weird.
Let's see. Yeah. I don't know. Can't find it. It was on the homepage, but now I'm scrolling down. I can't find it.
Well, one other space story that I heard yesterday is the first day that we believe that we could possibly be contacted by aliens due to something that we did back in the 80s. And I did not know we did this. It's kind of cool. August 15th, 1983, a couple Japanese scientists shot out radio waves into the sky in a way that when these radio waves would be received, they basically told a message. It's, for anyone that would be out there at this, the nearest star to us, which is about 16.7 light years away. It's called Altair, and it's the 12th brightest star in our night sky. And they say that as yesterday would be the soonest that from the day in the 80s that we shot those radio signals out there. And if they got them literally that day and shot them back to us, that we would get any contact from them to let them know that, hello, we are here. Obviously, we haven't heard anything yet. They are monitoring it now very closely, starting yesterday, going forward for a while here. I just wanted to share. I thought it was kind of a cool way to do this, how they did this. There's been other attempts at like time capsules and things like that we've sent up there. But they like told the story of human life and like how we got here. Which
No shit.
would make sense. Yeah, with radio waves, which is really cool. If you had I think it's a radio wave telescope. That's how you would like take this in. But basically, we started at basically showing them cells. And as the cells progress through these different radio transmissions that we sent, we get to DNA. From DNA, we have microbes and all the, organisms, and they form into, bigger organisms that then form into fish. And then it shows the fish leaving the water, becoming an on-ground mammal, then evolving into a primate, into people, and then they do a slide that actually shows roughly like what a human looks with radio waves. That's just, it's
Damn.
honestly genius to me that they did this. And then the last one is like a toast, is like a cheers, like a peace offering to everybody. So,
And it looks like the Chinese did this.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Yep. So, maybe we will finally hear anything back, but it seems like a
I
cool
hope,
idea.
you know what I hope? I hope we get a message back from 16 million years ago. And it tells the story of creation.
Yeah. Of how we
Yeah.
got here, you're saying?
No, we basically told them this. I hope they come back and say we were created by the hand of God.
Oh yeah, right.
And it just shows a God, and then him forming, and then a rib, and then him blowing the life, and said this is the story. And we just started integral debate.
We talk to each other.
I think that would be hilarious.
But cool stuff. I'll post the link to these sites and stuff, to this New York Post article that they put out about it. I saw it all over social media yesterday. But if you want to see these images a little closer, pretty genius stuff. Pretty genius way to announce ourselves to people and let them not be alarmed if they ever found us. So that is
Heck yeah.
all I got, Frank. Anything else?
That's it, my friend. I have to go do my normal daily functions.
It has been the pleasure of a lifetime, Frank.
It has. Always. Every week it is. You know where to find us, but I'll remind you anyway. Instagram and TikTok at Friendship News Hour. On Twitter at friendshipnh, and you can find us or you can send us an email at bomberdude.media@gmail.com, bomberdude.media@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.